Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed here, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 13. Alright, no changes to the box. I will point out this is on the crack of dawn time slot, so like 3 a.m. or whatever for people in Central Time. So something that's been... I think I failed to mention that I lost some matches in the previous video, but... Oh no, I did mention I lost a match. It was part of the reason why I switched to Hilda. But one thing that I didn't mention was the type of boxes I've been running into. Essentially, every time I'm within a win of going up a rank, I get a box pretty much like this. Which is something to look forward to if I ever get to Gold 2. But yeah, essentially it's a bunch of rush-down murder machines here. Yeah, it's really annoying. One thing I also didn't point out in the time I lost, it did have a McLean in it, and I have been having a growing hatred of McLean, and I really should start banning him sooner in future battles because he's really annoying. Him combined with Wedem is actually really troublesome depending on the map. Like for example, the 2-ship map where there's water between everybody. He can essentially hit you for a little bit of damage with his targeting the water itself, and then use a Wedem to follow up, and then use Sword and Lion Shadow to follow that up. It's just a lot of nasty combos. But in any case, as expected, they ban my Lightbringer first. I get rid of Aurora because I have to. If I don't, I'll die. I grab Hilda as my tank. They already opt to go ahead and go for my primary healers. So at this point, I'm kind of screwed. All the stuff that I can use that could potentially counteract the anti-self-resing that Sword and Light and Shadow can do. My only option is Liana, and even then, Gospel is not super good at stopping it because Sword and Light and Shadow dispels 5 buffs. So it's really annoying all around. Get rid of Wedem because I've learned my lesson. Get rid of Polyol. Grab Liana. They get rid of my Sword of Light and Shadow. They get rid of my Lucretia. They got Grinshield. I go ahead and get rid of their Assassin. Get rid of Jintoki. I grab my Grinshield. So I have buff coverage for both Strategic and Reincarnation. They go ahead and they get rid of Connie and Auden Kelmo at this point. And grab Lucretia. I get rid of Sissy White, get rid of Auden Kelmo. I grab Silvaria. I get rid of my remaining primary healer, get rid of Kyura. So my choices were either go Marielle or Ironblood Commander. Both of them kind of have their pros and cons at this point. And fortunately, they have a D-Heart, which is Cavalry, which is annoying. I go ahead and get rid of their remaining Assassin, get rid of Ironblood Commander, and this leaves them with McLean or Lightbringer. And they opt for McLean. And I grab Marielle. Alright, standard kit for Silvaria, Liana. Hilda, I did bring both her guards as well as her faction buff with phalanxes. Grinshield here, I brought Air Slash, 3C, and Cold Shield with War Falcons, and then Marielle, I brought this usual kit for her. My opposition, same thing, they have the same Grinshield for the most part. I'm just comparing stats. Hers has more HP. Mine's actually a bit more tankier. Alright, they have D-Heart, which of course has Oath of Karma, which is probably going to be used to buff Sword and Light and Shadow. Sword and Light and Shadow has double Sword Soul type abilities. Lucretia here did bring Mass Attack and Black Hole. And McLean has all of its exclusives and then Glacial Elementals. Alright. So, unfortunately, my opponent has a lot more coverage. And unfortunately, out of all the flyers, Grinshield's actually the worst to deal with for Silvaria. Despite her advantages of being an archer, She's always going to be 0 mobility while sniping, which means Grinshield will always get her talent buff, which increases defense. So I went a bit strong here. I went ahead and opened with Dominating Formation. I think I should have probably opened with her 3C first and then saved the Dominating Formation for after. Just to try to counteract whatever McLean's about to do. And since they have a Grinshield, I have to do a cross formation. If I do not do a cross formation, I open myself up for being hit by her shield, and then being follow-up with essentially a guard bypass. So I did go ahead and do 3C on Marielle just to get her a buff. At this point, my opponent's too far away to actually do anything. So the big issue right now is this D-Heart. D-Heart can move 3 spaces with Strike, which puts him all the way to here. So I'm right now at the very edge of his range. And then Silvaria right now has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So right now everything's just outside of her range. So yeah, we're gonna have to play a little cat and mouse here. Yeah, so this is what's gonna end up happening is this, which overlaps all of that. So I go ahead and fall back a bit. So Grinshield did move in. She's in Force Tiles. She also was able to negate fixed damage. So with the crit, I came just short of actually getting kill. Pretty much the Force is what saved her for the most part. I didn't really mind it too much because they don't actually have healers, and I didn't. My only other option was to attack McLean, which isn't really a viable option. All right, and then here comes the AoE. So I do act again on Grinshield at this point. I think what I probably should have done instead is act against Silvaria and just pull her back. I mean, either way, it was going to be a tough decision. But my options with the Grinshield are kind of limited. In any case, here comes the strike. So I think the goal here was just to steal a bunch of buffs and hoping maybe to get rid of guard. Or just get rid of buffs in general. Like I mentioned before, Hilda's weakness is if she loses buffs, her tanking ability drops significantly. So far it looks like I'm doing okay though. But yeah, lost stuff that like reduces crit and all that. He also is immune to fixed damage. So holy cow, why does everyone have that? Well, in any case, so we got D-Heart here. Oh, there we go. It's okay. There's the fixed damage. And Lion's Roar, which is really annoying. So, go ahead and move in. So even with my 50% damage reduction, for having Commandment up, I'm able to get kill. And dispel the buff there, thanks to the 3C. Lucretia is actually outside of Resurrection range, so I was able to kill her immediately. And I'm just outside of Sword and Light and Shadow's attack range. So yeah, pretty strong start, but unfortunately Grinshield's coming. And I don't really have an option, and I don't have anything to protect Marielle. So yeah, negates my guard. Not a flyer, so she does have first strike. So here's one of my major mistakes is I decided to attack here. I should have wrapped around and attacked from the forest. It still would have gotten kill, but it would have made it so I wouldn't be in McLean's attack range. Yeah, unfortunately the barrier did keep Grinchy alive, so I go ahead and finish her off with my tank. Which, since she's strategic, it actually refreshes the faction buff, which is helpful. But yeah, here's where things kind of go bad. I try to minimize their ability to approach. I throw out the shield, which minimizes their movement a little bit, but not enough. Because unfortunately, you can override it. And his fancy 3C is 2 range. And bypasses guard. So yeah, if I had positioned Marielle up in the forest tile, I would have opened myself up to this follow-up, which is really bad because it puts a spirit right here, which means anything that Sword and Light Shadow does, she'll be within range of getting her spirit back. So I put out some terrain. It's not going to be enough because McLean could just spam his stuff no matter what. And unfortunately, moving in like this, she dispelled 5 buffs, negates my self-res, and does more than enough to kill her. And at this point, this was pretty much match, because I don't really have an answer. Yeah, moving in to put in the terrain wasn't the best decision. I should have just stayed back. Well, I had to push forward anyway if I was going to attack with Grinchy, which I probably shouldn't have in the first place. I managed to survive the Sword Soul, but it did apply the debuff. So all I can do is kind of just fall back. So I get some buffs up on her, but it doesn't really help, because I have no way of dispelling undispellable buff. Yep, and then there's 3C. Yeah, the fact he can spam his 3C is just utterly ridiculous. I think it literally has no cooldown. Yeah, it's always up. Yeah, so he does Lord of the Stream. And then it swaps to another skill, which is just his attack that bypasses guard. Like, he can constantly just cycle it over and over again. It's really, really annoying. But yeah, unfortunately, this is the wall I have to get through if I have to get to if I want to get to gold 2. Oops, forgot to show stats. But yeah, like I said, if I hadn't made the mistake with Marielle, I think I would have been okay. Because then I would have at least been able to have another person to attack with. And then once I try to push in with Grinchy, I was really just opening myself to unnecessary pain. But at that point, it was essentially 2 DPS that both can self-res versus 1 DPS. So yeah, like I said, throwing away Marielle was what kind of got me. But it was a neat match. It was a lot of fun though. So at this point, I thought I lost enough points that I was outside of gold 2 range. But whether this could just be RNG or not, but I ended up getting a similar box as before. No McLean this time. A Season 12 Langrisser veteran. Yeah. So the higher your rank goes, this is the boxes you get to look at, which is a bit unfortunate. It wouldn't be so bad if they weren't all so freaking similar. In any case, my opponent immediately bans Lightbringer, as expected. There's not much to say about their box. It's it's almost identical. The only difference here... I think Sherry's the difference. Sherry instead of McLean. I think that's the difference. Then I guess they had they had a Lightbringer in the previous one. But yeah, it's also I think they have more healers in this one. Oh yeah, no Abora, which is nice. So with that, I go ahead and get rid of Polyol. I go ahead and get Hilda. And you can probably guess what they're going to do. They're going to ban my Sword and Light and Shadow, ban my Rose and Seal. They're going to grab their Sword and Light and Shadow. That's generally the gist of it. So I go ahead and get rid of Wedem, get rid of their primary assassin, grab Elma. So I at least have some sort of way of possibly stopping what's coming. Then Elma's little berry, even if it doesn't stop the debuff, her mirror buff is like 3 separate buffs, which is very helpful. They grab Sherry. I go ahead and get rid of D-Heart, get rid of Ginja and Toki. I grab Grenshiel. They go ahead and get rid of my strategic faction characters. They grab Lightbringer. I go ahead and get rid of Rose and Seal, get rid of their Lucretia. And I grab Connie at this time. They ban Marielle, ban my other healer. They leave me with Liana for some reason, and they leave me with Kyura. They took Sissy White as their primary healer, so I go ahead and get rid of their Grinshield, get rid of their potential AoE. I was actually okay with them having Ironblood Commander, though it's going to be pretty risky with her too. It's either they're going to take a lot of additional act agains, or they're going to take Ironblood Commander. Either way, it was just going to be really, really messy. I grabbed Kyura as my final pick because I wasn't that worried about AoE. They take Ironblood Commander. And here we are. So Kyura, Gossipal, Misdancers, and the usual stuff I kind of shown off before. I have her built tankier because her role is mostly to be more supporty. But in this case, she's going to be probably just some extra damage that can bypass guard. Elma, her exclusives and Forest Priest. Hilda here, same stuff as before. Same stuff as before for Grinshield. And then Joa and Connie. We got her 4 range shots, roundabout with 3C. And then our opponent here, standard kit Ironblood Commander with all attacks with unicorns. I was actually surprised that she took unicorns. I was expecting infantry. Sherry here, standard kits, Shadow Raid, 3C with angels. Sword and Light Shadow did opt for her her AoE, which for some reason I keep thinking her AoE is the one that negates healing, but that's actually Wedem's. Hers just negates act agains. Oh, it also reduces damage. Sissy White has Inspire, so she doesn't have area heal. She only has Inspire, which means the only potential debuff removal from Inspire is probably from her staff. Also has Fighting Monks. This one is Holy Class, so she does benefit from Lightbringer. Speaking of Lightbringer, she did bring Mirror Guard, Strengthen, and her 3C, and brought Royal Protectors. She can buff everyone except for Sword and Light and Shadow, which of course Strengthen will be able to buff her instead. Okay, so key things here to note is to there. So yeah, with Ironblood's formation buff, the Shadow Raid can reach to here. So that's something to be aware of, because obviously if she can shoot you, she'll be able to act again afterwards. So for right now, I go ahead and just push forward and do Channel Interference to get from Stealth, and just pass in turn. My biggest concern was potentially Sword and Light and Shadow, but she could have potentially maybe gone to here and passively done damage to Joa, and that would have made it so he would be open to attack. But thankfully, my opponent didn't do that, so I didn't have to worry about it. So with that in mind, I go ahead and just pace myself. My opponent, of course, gets a breeze proc, which is really annoying. The good news is the breeze proc does ensure that she doesn't get the full buff from Iron Blood Commander. Because actually, nope, I am wrong. It'll be overwritten. I'm getting mixed up with the Tenyu breeze proc. So there you go, heavy strike formation. Oh, it didn't overlap it, so cool. That's actually helpful. I went ahead and took advantage of the extra range to proc my shield. As you can see, my opponent's staying on cross formation, so I can't take advantage of the shield. I also did. This is something I did in the previous match. I didn't actually do faction buff with Hilda. Hilda is actually strategic faction, so she does get benefits from Grin Shield, so she can actually opt to do her guard buff first. Speaking of, I did her 3C instead of her dominating formation. Long-term investment. So she's going to have 5 coins next round. There you go. So the only way Sissy Y can heal is through the use of Inspire, which costs 3 coins. So if she's using Inspire, she's not going to be able to do any of she won't be able to do her Act Agains or any of her other stuff. That being said, Joe and Connie's 3C, I'm pretty much only doing it for the damage. The unit range reduction is actually really good. But all the DPS here has ways of acting again. Cherry's is a bit more restrictive, but in the case of Iron Blood Commander and Sword and Light and Shadow, they both have a way of acting again, which will cycle the debuff. So in that front, it's not really an option. And I don't want to put Joa in danger, because he'll essentially give them they'll give them a jumping off point, either with Sherry or with Sword and Light Shadow, creating a spirit out of them. I did go ahead and put up the terrain here. I don't have to worry about it being overlapped. This is actually really useful because now Sherry literally has no way of acting again. All the points where she can actually attack from, she won't be able to act again from those spots. So she can't do any follow-up there. Iron Blood Commander can move 3 spaces, so that's not really a big deal there. And Sword and Light and Shadow can eventually move through it as well. Alright, so I go ahead and move just to keep out of range of Sword and Light and Shadow. I go ahead and opt to go ahead and summon the staff at this point, just in case. Alright. Alright, so here's the situation. The biggest threat here is the fact that these two can dispel a bunch of buffs and essentially just murder Hilda. This will be the last turn of having the reflection buff, and I won't be able to apply it until the next round. So this round is kind of important. The other thing to be aware of course, is my faction buff is ticking, and I don't have a way of reapplying it unless I kill with some of these characters. Fortunately, I can't kill with Joa and Connie because of the swamp in the middle. Joa's stealth buff is about to wear off, so at this point, Gospel is about to wear off. So at this point, I kind of need to consider what I need to do. So I'm kind of just falling back to this corner here. Thankfully, so I think this is where my opponent made a mistake and miscounted. So I guess one thing to talk about. In the ban pick phase, I was running out of time. I literally was down to 2 or 3 seconds on a lot of the picks. At this point, both of us have used up all of our spare time. So we're pretty much running on essentially 15 to 20 second rounds and having to make decisions. And with the high mobility and counting tiles, you've seen in the videos how long it takes me to count the freaking tiles. My opponent's doing the same thing every turn, trying to count tiles, trying to measure out distance, and not open themselves to attack. And I think at this point, I think my opponent miscounted, because even with the Iron Blood Commander buff, Sherry cannot actually get in range to kill anything. So I go ahead and fall back. We get the act again here. I go ahead and use faction buff at this point, which actually gives Elma a buff. Also, if you didn't know, Connie is also reincarnation. I actually had to look that up. Thankfully, I had notes, a note of my WordPad document already set up with all that stuff, so I didn't have to pull up any websites. Alright. So yeah, at this point, did the mobility buff, and as you can see, I'm still outside of their range. Sword and Light. I'm also outside of Sword and Light and Shadow's range, which is important because I don't want to get murdered by her. But yeah, at this point, Sissy White just used all of her coins, but more importantly, it puts it on cooldown. So even if she does get enough coins, she won't be able to do the act again for a little while. And then I think my opponent just miscounted steps. And yeah, at this point, my opponent gave up. So not a single point of damage was dealt or taken. And I beat I like to say I beat a Langrisser character, or Langrisser rank character with without doing a single point of damage. But yeah, that's essentially how the matches tend to turn out. You're either doing a massive tank push that can actually endure all the damage that's coming from the rush box. Surprisingly, I have for this season there was actually a lot more tank pushing in the Chinese servers, but that's because of the new healer that came out. I don't remember his name, but he's like a high priest guy that can do sins, and those sins can really debilitate a rush box in a lot of ways. But I have yet to actually see him in battle, surprisingly. I think his name was Lugner. I've just been seeing a lot more of these rush boxes, and prior to Lugner, the only thing you can do against a rush box was kind of just to feel them out like this, where you're just kind of spacing each other out and waiting for some side to either make a mistake or be forced to make a mistake because of the mist. And that's essentially what this was. Essentially, we ran out of time, and my opponent made a counting error, I think. A couple of them, actually. And because of that, it just didn't go well for him. What was really surprising, though, was this match gave me enough points to get to gold 2, which I was not expecting. Honestly, the amount of points I've been getting or losing from these matches have been wacky. Like, the match I lost where I ended up switching Helda in because of it, I think I only lost like 7 points from that. Or something ridiculous. And then this one, I thought I lost more. I think I lost like 13 or 15. And then this one, I actually got like 18 points from it. And it was enough to get me to rank up. So with that, I am gold 2. I haven't hit gold 2 in a very long time. Unfortunately, because they did update this that showed the 512s. But either Season 2 or Season 3, I don't remember which one, I hit gold 2. So one of these two I hit gold 2. And since then I've been just gold 3 or top 512. Which I actually did not know I was top 512 in these seasons. Back then there was no 512 ranking, but apparently they retroactively gave it to me. But yeah, I hit gold 2. I doubt I'll get much higher than this, because what you saw is probably what I'm going to be encountering through the entire block, and more than likely I'll probably D-rank back down to 3. But we'll see. I did have a lot of fun with these matches, but it was definitely a lot of work to get to this point. I can afford to take one loss without D-ranking, but let's hope that it doesn't come to that. for the most part, we're kind of stuck with the box we have. The meta will eventually change once the Awakener comes out, and as much as people complain about power creep, this is kind of power creep we kind of need since these guys don't ever nerf characters and they don't retroactively buff characters either. They usually just have to give them new abilities through, SP classes or whatnot. So Awakener is kind of necessary because it's really the only way to kind of prevent high mobility boxes besides McLean and potentially Sage of the Trees, which are not even options for my style. So it is what it is. But in any case, I may decide to I may end up dropping Hilda once we get the Awakener and seeing how that plays. But for right now, we have to have 2 primary tanks just so we can potentially try to survive a hit from the current meta strikers. Besides that, I don't really have too many plans. Like I think essentially the idea is I'm going to be probably replacing Marielle with the new infantry character that's going to be coming out in the next month. I'll be replacing Sophia with the new healer/mage that's coming out. That also provides. Well, she also will help with the rushdown as well. The new collab character can actually give self-reses to other characters. It does have a drawback, but it does make it so you're just not completely open to being just completely run down so easily. And then after that, the Awakener will come out, which I guess I may try replacing Hilda with the Awakener and see how that plays out. I'll also at that point I'll have a lot of flexibility as far as faction buffs are concerned. Essentially, I'll be able to use Time Faction pretty freely if I want to opt to bring some other characters back in, such as Kagura here, if I want to. Or I can go really silly and try to bring bring Sheltier back and then immediately get rid of her because she doesn't work. I did hear about the exclusive gear for Girl in the Shell that will make her even better, but I'm not sure if I'll be bringing her back in or not. Also, another thing that's going to be significant is Liana is going to be getting a exclusive. Or not, yeah, actually I think it is an exclusive. No, actually, it's either an exclusive or it's a talent upgrade, or a casting upgrade. The casting upgrade makes it so she can, it can make her summon a little bit better. It actually has a good healing spell on it. But the other thing it can do, she'll be able to do, is she'll be able to give a pseudo buff to anyone that she gives an act again to. Which is really, really helpful because it saves an action in a lot of cases. It essentially means I don't have to worry about buffing Sylvaria, because Liana can do it both in one action, which will be kind of neat. Marielle is eventually going to get a casting talent as well that actually upgrades her a little bit. Unfortunately, I think I'll still be replacing her regardless. She did really well in that one match I did lose. She killed 2 units just flat out. Which was really surprising. But yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff to play around with, and I may consider just revamping the entire box and trying something else once that comes around. We'll see. But we got a few more weeks of this. My current ranking, it's gradually going down, but I'm at 337 right now. I don't think I'll be in the top 256. But I will see if I can keep pushing this. The upcoming matches are going to probably be pretty rough, and I'll probably be taking it pretty easy from now on. The good news is I'll at least get the benefits for Gold 2, even if I G-rank, as far as the weekly rewards go. Anyway, enough rambling from me. I am the Depressed Eeyore. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 13. I'll see you guys later.